Thank you to all the members for supporting my channel. Hello there, I want to talk about power creep today. So if you're one of those Star Rail players that can't accept criticism towards your game because it can do no wrong, then this might be the time for you to, maybe watch a different video. I'm aware most of the Star Rail players are decent human beings, but I'd be lying if I tried to sit here and tell you that most of the Star Rail community aren't, how do I word this nicely? You know what, doesn't matter. I had planned to let there be this, secret silent opening where I didn't really name drop the game until a minute in, but then I realized that if you just look at the thumbnail, it's very obvious which of the three games I'm talking about. So hi, we're going to talk about power creep and Star Rail. So I need to make a few things clear. One thing I always hear from Star Rail defenders is whenever you criticize their game, they get on to you because, oh, you don't understand the game. And I know I don't talk about Star Rail a lot, so I'll just go ahead and say this. I've been playing since day one and I full cleared all the in-game modes. Which means I don't want to see any comments that are like, well, actually, when you get to the in-game, shut the fuck up. No, we're not going to do that. Because the fact of the matter is, power creep at this point in Star Rail is absolutely undeniable. And I know it's pretty bad because in one of my more recent videos, I talked about power creep in Genshin. I mostly talked about how a lot of the in-game content in Genshin Impact isn't really that hard, and you can full clear it with a lot of 4-star characters, and it'll be super easy. It would actually take around the same, if not less investment than it would take for you to go in there with a full team of 5 stars. And it's been this way ever since the game came out. And I talked about how at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you do, because, you know, you're gonna be able to full clear all the content anyway, so just pull the characters you want. Hi, Editor Soul here. I'm editing at 3 o'clock in the morning because I just got back from my job, and I just was looking through the top comments, and this was the top comment on that video, which is pretty fucking funny to me. Figured I'd share with the class, so yeah. As it currently stands, Star Rail is not the same. When I hear people talk about defenses for power creep in Star Rail is either one, flat denying that it doesn't exist, or the second point they bring up is actually it's really easy to full clear all of the in-game content with 4 stars. All you need to do is do XYZ. And while it is true, yeah, you can full clear with all the characters that are just 4 stars, a lot of the people that say this are content creators and they're not really taking into consideration the time. Here's a good example. This is a YouTuber named Io. Io makes a lot of Star Rail content, and just so you know in advance, I'm not bullying Io. I've talked to him in person. He's pretty cool. Matter of fact, if you like Star Rail, go support Io. He's pretty chill. But Io made a video recently where he went over a lot of the in-game content in Star Rail, and he made his case for why power creep isn't a thing, because he was able to fully clear all of the in-game content using only 2 5 stars per team while using 4 stars, and he was able to get the highest score possible in the in-game mode. Actually, I think he used 5 stars, but one of them is ratio, so I don't really count that. Anyway, the point is, his conclusion was that Io, since he was able to fully clear the in-game content with these limited characters, that means that there's really no power creep. And I told Io this when I talked to him, that's fucking stupid. That doesn't make any sense, and here's why. First things first, Io has been playing Star Rail for a very long time, and he's also spent a decent amount of money on the game. So automatically, this person has access to more resources than a new player. On top of that, it's undeniable that the power creep in Star Rail has resulted in the ceiling for DPS and MOC and all the other in-game content being pushed significantly. And this is a trend that is not going to slow down. As more 5 stars come out that push forward the DPS ceiling, we are seeing the MOC and APOC Shadow getting more and more difficult. They are increasing their health pools. You need to look no further than Akron, who on her release made sure that a lot of the in-game modes had significantly more powerful enemies to keep up with her, and now, with the release of characters like Firefly and Fei Zhao that take significantly less investment that are able to do significantly more damage, Akron has been demoted from T0 to T.5, and in my opinion, she should have been demoted from that a while ago. When Fei Zhao and Firefly released, they increased the difficulty of the in-game mode to make sure that these new powerful characters weren't curb stomping the difficulty, and we're watching other premium limited time 5 stars, a lot of which are better than pretty much every 4 star in the game, getting pushed out of the meta. It is an undeniable fact that Jingliu is no longer in the top 3 DPSs anymore, and if you want to sit here and say, actually she is, that's okay, because you can just be wrong, and there's no point arguing with that. The same can be said for a lot of other DPSs in the game. Hell, Blade, who's one of my favorite characters in the game, is essentially as good as a standard 5 star at this point. If I received Blade for free in the mail right now, I probably wouldn't even consider start building him just because it's not worth the investment. And you need to keep in mind that it has only been a year. We'll be generous and say it only took Io a year to build his account. His characters, when he full cleared the current in-game mode, were only barely able to do it. Now sit here for a second and think that if I started playing the game right now, in a year from now, if I tried to use the exact same team he used and did the exact same level of investment over the course of a year, would I be able to full clear the in-game mode? No, because the enemies would have significantly more HP than they do now. And that is a fact. And do you want to know what that's called? Power creep. I know, surprising, right? So do you see now why that is a very dumb argument? And another thing, it's not just dumb, it's misleading, because you're pushing these people into spending these exorbitant amount of resources on characters that aren't even that good, just because you can't say, yeah, shit, there's power creep. And it's as simple as that. I feel like, yeah, future characters are getting better. This is an undeniable fact of the game, and yeah, there have been a couple of stinkers lately, okay, I'm not gonna say names, but it doesn't matter, because even if there's just one character that is power creeping another character, then that's power creep. And power creep has been getting especially bad in Star Rail lately. I've made this comparison before, but there's a character named March 7th who puts a shield over a character, and when an enemy attacks that shield, she retaliates for damage. There's another character in the game named Jerpard who puts a shield over the whole team with an ultimate. Avengerine, a character that came out little over a year later, gives you a full bar shield with a tap of his skill that does the reflection attack that March 7th does after so many hits that also applies a debuff. And yes, I know that Avengerine has to have his light cone in order to get the debuff, but here's the thing. If everybody's gonna judge Acheron based off her power with her light cone, then we're gonna do the same thing for every other character. Might as well keep it stock standard, huh? Another good example of a character who is just immensely more powerful is Yoon Lee, who is essentially just Clara's kit, but with way more numbers and modifiers in it. And then people will see this, look at it, and then be like, yeah, no, there's not power creep in this game. No, it doesn't exist. Hell, do y'all remember a year ago when people got Dr. Ratio for free? And everybody was talking about how, oh my god, the developers are so generous. They're so generous for giving us this character that literally would have sold like shit and nobody would have fucking pulled on him. He released right after Raw May and right before Penacony. You know, shit, they gave him you for free. And now here we are, 7 months later, and he just got directly power crept by Fei Zhao, which is just insane. Which I guess is another thing I want to talk about. I feel like the people that play Star Rail talk about how the power creep isn't that big of a deal because they get enough gems every patch in order to pull characters in the future. They talk about how the game is super generous all the time, and I'm gonna pop your bubble real quick. The rate at which Star Rail releases its characters and the rate at which you get gems completely nullifies the generosity that you are perceiving. Star Rail players like to compare it to Genshin a lot, so I'm gonna do the same. Star Rail has been out for a year. Genshin has been out for a little over 4. Genshin has 80 something characters now, don't know the exact number, but it's over 80. Star Rail has been out for a year and it has over 50, I think 55 now, which means on average, you are getting roughly 44% of the currency in correlation to the characters that are releasing. And here's another thing, like I said earlier, when people talk about calcs for Star Rail, a lot of people, including Pridewin, like to consider characters on the tier list based on if they have their light cone or not. Though I will admit, it does seem very pick and choosy on who has their light cone and who doesn't, because I'm sorry, there's no reason why Acheron should have been in T0 with Fei Zhao at any point if she didn't have her light cone, and there's absolutely no reason why Fu Xuan should have been on the same tier as Avengerine for a while if she didn't have her light cone. That's just ridiculous. But that's irrelevant. The point is, a lot of the tier list and a lot of the character calculators assume you have light cone, which means not only are you going to have to pull the character every patch when you're getting 44% of the currency that you would get in correlation to another game that releases characters slower, you're also expected to pull the weapon for characters. And sometimes a character's of a specific class that makes it to where all their other weapon options are so much worse than the light cone. I mentioned this earlier, but Acheron, if she doesn't have her light cone, her second best option is a significant downgrade. Boot Hill is another example I point to, with his second best weapon being a fucking 3-star because the light cones in this game are so tailor-made for a character. A lot of them feel like their kits are not complete unless they have the light cone. I also like to point to support light cones a lot of the time. For example, Robin's light cone makes her rotations a lot smoother, basically giving her 100% uptime on her ultimate, which is a significant buff considering how powerful her ultimate attack is. Ron May's light cone does so much for her kit, it's actually insane, and Sunday's light cone cone turns his rotation from a 4 to a 3, which means he's easily going to be able to get his really powerful buffs off every single time off cooldown, which is, again, insane. And like I said earlier in the video, a lot of characters that come out in Star Rail nowadays expect you to have their light cone. So then you'll have these characters that come out that are really good. For example, one that really bothers me a lot is hyper carry teams, or of course, DOT teams, which when I came back to the game in version 2.0, those were like really overpowered teams and everybody said they were good. So I started pulling for the things that I needed to build these teams, and by the time I had everything I needed with my free-to-play shit, they were fucking useless. DOT isn't even talked about anymore unless it's as a joke because it hasn't been touched in so long. And yeah, I know, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty fucking good if you have the signature light cone on all of the characters on the team and you're playing with, I don't know, a year of investment, which new players won't have. But then you'll have people like, oh yeah, there's no power creep because you could just use these 4 stars with a year worth of investment in full clear. Okay, what's gonna happen in a year when they finally get that team built and the HP modifiers increase on everything? Are we still gonna sit here and deny power creep? Fuck no, because it exists. I don't understand why y'all are so adamant and vehemently defending that there is not power creep in Star Rail. It's right there. It is very probable that you can pull a character in one patch and then the next patch they get power crept, okay? Boot Hill is one that a lot of people point to, and even though he's a little bit better now, you are capping if you're trying to sit here and tell me that Boot Hill did not get just fucking shitted on by Firefly as soon as she released, because that was ridiculous. And I like Boot Hill. With that all being said, like, comment, subscribe, see ya.